Chris Webber here on The Rich Eisen Show. Let's get to this now. I heard you have an announcement to make. Is that a true story?
Yeah. Well, part of the reason I'm here, Rich, is we're finishing up, the PR run of the book and putting some things together. And so,
Your autobiography?
I've been working on autobiography. I think I've talked or mentioned it a few times, but for the last 8.5 years. And so for me to finally say that it's done and you can pre-order it and it'll be here for Christmas is something pretty cool, and I'm proud to say that I finished. I wrote every word. Over the past few years, I've been offered some generous deals by publications, by publishing companies, that type of thing, to tell my story. And it was a situation where finally ready, we've had enough time. I've had children, I've been able to retire, I've been able to sit back and just look back. And the name of the book is By God's Grace. And I'm just looking back really thankful that through everything that I've been through, he sustained me, he sustained my family, he's put wonderful people around me. I was blessed with children. And so it just really is looking back and saying, wow, it's been a wonderful ride. It's been a tough ride at times. But at the end of the day, God has been there for me, and hopefully it inspires others. And for me, really was therapeutic, and now something fun to give to the people, something for my kids, and to continue having fun in the sports world.
So people can pre-order it right now?
And people can pre-order it right now, Amazon. It's on anywhere you can buy a book. And
Is there a date by...
December 18th, it will be in stores right before Christmas. But you can pre-order it right now, and we'll be spreading the good gospel of the book for the next 2.5 months. But again, very excited. It's much more than basketball, but I do get into basketball, and I do talk about everything, from going to Michigan, being recruited by Bill Frieder at my very first high school game. I talk about Ed Martin and Jalen. I talk about growing up with parents. One was a teacher, my father a mechanic, worked in the auto industry over 30 years. And so this year we celebrated my parents' 48th wedding anniversary. And just being there with all the love, the kids, the family, old AAU coaches, family, it was just, our family celebrates all the time with friends. And that's what this book is. It's a book definitely one of celebration. It's one of being grateful, one of thanking the people that were there for me, and then just looking back and saying, wow, I had a blast, and hopefully this inspires some people that in the midst of their journey that are going through some tough things to kind of focus, get right, and to know better times are ahead.
Chris Webber here on The Rich Eisen Show. When you say therapeutic, what was the most therapeutic for you here, Chris?
That's a good question. One of the things that I learned while writing this book was, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about forgiving 7 times 7 times 7. So I always used to think that the forgiveness meant Rich is always going to be late. So if I have 1,000 parties, forgive him for coming over late, or forgive him. And it's not that. It's or what I learned is it's something different. And going through this book, a lot of the book concentrates on when I was 12, 13 years old. When you're first meeting people, when you're being recruited or groomed by certain people. And so when you go through certain things and you've forgiven them at that time, let's say 30 years ago, well, in remembering what happened, going over what happened, and then you look at it from a more mature standpoint and say, wait a minute, you really knew that I was 12 years old, the things that you were saying were manipulative, you really put your claws in with words like family, loyalty, those type of things.
These people who were trying to
recruit you to school, trying to keep a job, trying to get you to say hi to another recruit that would get them the recruit. It's just so many things that you really didn't know what the situation was. You just knew that everything wasn't sincere. And so I had to forgive them again. So even if you forgive them when you get drafted, everything's great, I forgive you. Well, now that I'm 45, I have to say, wow, that was really screwed up. You did that again, and, I forgive you again. And in the same tone, ask for forgiveness. And in the same tone, ask God for forgiveness, because at times you didn't celebrate or enjoy things as you should have because you were so focused on what was going on at the time. And so for me, it was just really, it just really allowed me to look back at my career, to be thankful, but also to take a deep breath and to really appreciate all the things that I've accomplished. When you're in sports, the rule is if you win on Wednesday, hey, you can have fun Wednesday night, but Thursday morning, even if the game is until Saturday, put that out your head. So you're never in a place of just constant being grateful. And that's especially since I retired, the mind frame that I've been in, and hopefully this book allows me to show people how grateful I am, but also inspire them through their tough times.
Well, the Ed Martin, you mentioned him. He's the individual with whom your entanglements caused you to break with Michigan and vice versa.
Yes.
How deep do you get into details here?
I mean, again, I take full responsibility for this book, so I write everything. You know, one of the tough things, Rich, was that, say if I went on a show and someone wanted to talk about Ed, right? We would get 4 or 5 minutes or whatever, good time for TV, but it's so much deeper, and you have to explain and go here and there that you really could never have a conversation. It would end up being a sound bite that I didn't think was fair to me or someone didn't think was fair to them. And so I have the full-on conversations from the day that I met him to the day he passed away, to going to court, to being accused of things. I don't want to give everything away,
Sure.
But to being accused of taking money to go to Michigan. I didn't take money to go to Michigan. It never was the case. And we'll see through reporting in the book how things go and how maybe things could have been said if people would have done a little more research or just didn't jump on the bandwagon, those type of things. And so very proud of it. It's definitely the toughest thing that I've ever done, and I'm proud of it, and I probably will never read or write another word again in my life.
I'm telling you, it's an incredible endeavor to do something like this. And when it comes out, are you and Jalen going to be cool, or what do we have on that front? You mentioned his name as well.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really come from the school of talking and bashing and putting out. I don't know when what gave him the heart to do all that, to become that person. I'm sure, Jawan's at Michigan now, which is wonderful. So I'm sure that will be a catalyst to hopefully bring everybody back together at the right time. But as far as Michigan goes, right now, I think it's time for Jawan to establish his territory. It's about him, so it's about him putting down his rules, setting the culture, and none of us should get in the way of that, whether through being nostalgic or trying to go back and get glory with people patting us on the back,
By God's grace, you can pre-order it right now where all books are sold.
Oh, yes.
And then December 18th, week before Christmas.
Yes.
By the way, nice photograph right there.
Thank
right
you
there.
very much.
Looking suited and booted.
Yeah.
I like it.
Younger picture. I didn't have to put any.
So I was going to say.
Put any black over the grays in my hair.
That looked like somebody before they had twins who are now 2 years old.
Yeah.
That looked somebody who got a night's sleep. Is what that photograph looks like to me.
Exactly. And then lastly, I do start the book off with trusting the reader, because the biggest struggle of my life was having children. It wasn't. I talk about the time out. I talk about the highest of the highs and the devastating lows that I've had in my life. Before I was 15, 4 of my friends were murdered that could play basketball. Why weren't they here now? It was a lot of survivor's remorse and thinking of those things. But really, when it got to God's grace, I was in the hospital room and I saw my babies, and I was told there they go. I was told, they got gray hair from
under the chin.
Them,
that's okay, but
what
a beautiful picture that is.
My wife and I was told for 8 years that we never have them. And so for people out there that are told, things can't happen, for those out there that have expectations, for those that hit, dry spots in their life, God is good. And what I would say to those that say, well, Chris, it's not about a religious experience, I would say that for me it is. And I would say for others, the grace of God means, look who's around you. Look at the parents that are around you. Look at your coaches. Look at your teachers. Who's cultivating you? Those are your angels. You don't have to put it in a religious context, but we do not make ourselves. We do not get here this successful. You're good, but you're really good at what you do, but you didn't do this by yourself. You got all these great people in here. You had your parents. You went to Michigan. You worked your butt off. What about the professor that inspires you? If I got deep into your story to be able to say that, and I just hope people take a little bit of time and hug that village. Thank those people around them to help them get to this point.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live, or download the Rich Eisen Show app.